Hey guys, this situation with sharing content among yourselves, it seems to have caused a bit of challenges for some of us. So I'm going to try to address it in this video. So here, what I'm going to be doing is this. I'm going to have a project in Maya that I put it in a folder in my Dropbox folder on my computer or my Google Drive folder, doesn't matter either or. And then I give access to that to another user, and then that user can access the same thing on their computer. So the process, because I'm not on two different computers in here, is going to be a little bit tricky, but I will show you what happens between two different users. All right. So here's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to go in here. The very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Dropbox. Let me get rid of all of these things. Right. So let's say I have a user for Dropbox. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to log in with my user. If I actually manage to remember my password, because it's always been logged in for me. I guess this is the password. So I'm logged in, and now this is the very first time I'm logging in with Dropbox, because every time you log out of it, it just eliminates everything, and I deleted everything. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to say, let's say I want to share this particular location. I'm going to go to my desktop. On my desktop, I'm going to say here on my desktop, I want to have a folder that is called Dropbox. So this is the folder that hosts everything about Dropbox, not just my Maya project or whatever. So I'm going to say next. And now it's going to build this folder for me, which is currently empty. Probably has, two guidelines or whatever, if this is your very first installation. Then it's going to ask me, what kind of sync I want. I want to make my files local, continue with basic. Then it says, do you want to back up anything? I don't want to back up anything. I'm going to continue to Dropbox, which pretty much means this. I now have a folder in here that this folder is shared between me and my other users. So how do I know that? Let's go ahead and say I want to make a text file, and I don't want to have this. I'm going to say this is my text file, hello, and I'm actually going to save it to this Dropbox folder. So desktop Dropbox, I'm going to say my saved file, right? So when I save this, it basically ends up in here. And to prove that, I can go to my backend and it shows me the file is there in the Dropbox folder. Now, we don't want to do this. We don't want to go back and forth between our desktop and our backend on the internet, right? We want to have a way that all of these things happen automatically. So far, I know that this folder, whatever I put in it, is going to be reflected on my cloud server as well. So here's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to go to Maya. I'm going to say I build my Maya project in there, or you just copy your Maya project to there. Doesn't matter. I'm going to say file. Let's say project window. I'm going to say my project is actually here on this folder. Let's say Dropbox in here, and I'm going to call it like this. I'm going to say this is Maya project, right? So now we have this Maya project, which is in here, and you can see those blue icons. It means it's trying to sync it. And when they become green, it means they are now saved to our backend. So it happens almost immediately, instantaneously. So right now I have the Maya project in here. Now, let's say within my Maya project, I do some stuff. Let's go ahead and say I create this thing in here. I create one more. I'm going to save this scene. I'm going to call it my cool scene, for instance. So I've made a scene in here in my Maya, and that scene has been saved to somewhere on this project. And of course, you can imagine it is now also saved here. So somewhere in this Maya project, if I go to the scenes folder, that file is in here. It is on the cloud. Again, the goal isn't to come back to this internet interface at all. This is just so that we know where it is. So here's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to assume I have another colleague that is one of your teammates, and I have their email address. In here, I'm going to do it assuming is for me myself. So here, I'm going to go ahead and say, let's go to this folder, the Dropbox folder. I'm going to right click on it and say share it. Whether you're using Mac or Windows, that's exactly the same thing. So I'm going to say share it, and it says, who do you want to share it with? And I know the person I want to share it with, their email is this. So whatever is the email of your colleague or your classmates, you put them in there, and I'm going to hit share. So what happens is now is going to try to share this folder with that other user. So if I go to, see, I'm on my end, I'm on Firefox, but now I'm going to go to Chrome, which is my other user. And Now that other user, which has an entirely different username and everything, is now having access to my Maya project. And it says this folder is shared between AJ, Amir Jahanlu, and this other user. Now, what happens to that other user when they want to use it on their desktop? So let's go and try to simulate that. To simulate that, I'm going to assume this. I'm going to go to their computer. I'm going to assume they are not on Dropbox. So I'm basically going to go to preferences, to the account. I'm going to say unlink this Dropbox. So unlink it anyway. So basically the whole Dropbox goes away. You are not connected to any user basically. Obviously this content is still there on my computer. So to eliminate that as a potential, confusion, I'm also going to do this. I'm going to go to the desktop and I'm going to say for that user, we don't have that. So this is a new user, new computer. They don't have any of those content. The goal in here is now we connect to the Dropbox that they have, which I have shared content with them, and they will see exactly the same thing as the one I am seeing. So I'm going to go in here. Now this is my next user. He is going to put, or she's going to put their credentials in there. So that is that. So now when I do this, it's going to sign into here. It's exactly the same thing. It's going to ask me, where do you want to put the stuff? Here, I'm actually going to go ahead and say, I don't want it to be on the desktop. I actually want to put it somewhere else. Let's say my user has a folder in here in their downloads, doesn't matter, called project, right? So they want to be in there. The reason I'm not putting in a desktop, I just want to show you that it has nothing to do with where it is, right? So I'm going to put it in here, and then it says, well, now you have a, let's just go through these, basic settings in here. I don't want to, do any of these. The part that was important for me is this one. So now within my downloads, projects, Dropbox, I have access to that final project. So this is the other user, has exactly the same access as I have. So the moment this happens for them, what they have to do, and this is a very crucial part of working with Maya, this is your next user. This is the colleague, right? They have to go to their Maya. In their Maya, they have to go and have to say set project. And then they set the project to wherever they, they put things. So in my case, it has been in the projects, Dropbox, final project, Maya project, a bit of a long route, but anyway. So I'm going to set it in there. It says the folder is not valid. Why is it not valid? It is actually valid because we are in the right place. Download project, Dropbox, final project, Maya project scenes. And if I open that scene, obviously this is the same scene that we had. Keep in mind, this is not the same scene that I had on this computer. This is the same scene that got pushed to the cloud, and now I have fetched it back. So now, if there were two of us, or if I had two computers in here, whatever I do in here, if I just make some changes in here and I save this scene, this automatically goes to my file in here. You see it is trying to sync it. It is still blue. It takes a little while. It becomes green. It means now it has been synced to the backend. And then when something changes, it takes a little while for it to appear for me as well. And when it does, all I have to do from this point on my computer, I work on my Maya project. My colleague works on their Maya project. None of us ever again goes to Dropbox or internet or anywhere like that. So that's basically the idea. The idea is that you have one folder that is shared on the cloud, which means everything you put to it gets synced. Everything that is there gets distributed to everybody else. We do this, I think you will be okay with this whole process. And yeah, let me know if this didn't work or if you had any other issues.